yeah, Uromastyx, depending on the current state of classification and all of that, there's anywhere from like 16, 17 to 22 or so species of Uromastyx that exist from North Africa in Morocco across the North Africa into the Middle East, and then some of them stretch into India and Pakistan. And there's another genus that got split off from Uromastyx a few years ago called Saara, and that's got 3 species in there. So you have Saara, Loricata, Osmusi, and Hardwicki. Now those ones, unfortunately, are not really present in the U.S. I mean, there are a couple of people who have some Saara, but we're talking very, very small numbers, and we, who knows, very, very, very tiny numbers. So who knows how long they may or may not be here. But even the Uromastyx as a whole, because of the countries in which they originate, like some of those North African and Middle Eastern countries, they're conflict zones, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of, you can't get stuff from here, there, or wherever. And so, and that's changed a lot over the last 30 years. So that's resulted in very, very sporadic and irregular shipments of lizards. And we're talking, some, like, for example, Uromastyx mcfadeni, which they technically, I don't even think they really exist. I know 2 people with lone males, but that's it. But it's this species of Uromastyx that doesn't really exist in the United States. I think they've come in once, just once, right? Never again. They come from Somalia, so it makes sense, right? It's a fail state, right? So but then you've got others like Saharans, which are Uromastyx jayeri, which are the ones that everyone's used to seeing very commonly at expos, the red and the yellow, or the orange and yellow, and the same species. They just occur in 2 color forms, and they are imported by the tens of thousands every year. But even those, very, very, very few of them make it into suitable homes, let alone breeding homes. And some of this is due to the kind of onerous assumption that they are like bearded dragons, which they are not. They have, obviously, just like any desert reptile, they bear some resemblance in care, but it's pretty base level resemblance in care, and it gets way more complicated after that. But because of these things, and we just have seen so few go into good homes, and then even fewer going to breeding homes. And then out of those people who have decided to dedicate any time to breed them, there's been low success, low consistency, and low longevity. And so all of those things make a perfect storm for like a lack of availability of these reptiles in the United States.
Now, since we're talking about species diversity,
sure,
maybe I'll just quickly ask this. As far as their native habitats and native range goes, are they living in very similar habitats as just far as just the landscape, or does that vary quite a lot?
Yeah, no, it varies a lot. So that's a really good question also. So I want to preface this by saying that so far, I don't necessarily, I spent several years caring for all of my Euros essentially identically, and they all did very well under the same kind of setup. So it's not to say that they won't do well in a given setup. It's just to say that there are definitely major variations. So animals such as Uromastyx ornata, yemenensis, ocellata, and mcfadeni, but they don't exist here anymore. And princeps, let's leave princeps out of that one, actually. So ornata, ocellata, yemenensis, and filbii are all like cliff face rock dwellers, sort of like American chuckwallas, right? So they're living on rocky outcroppings and cliff sides, living in crevices and probably in some burrows, but mostly in rock crevices and things like that. So those guys are excellent climbers and really benefit from a lot of vertical space. They also eat I think it's acacia trees or acacia bushes. There's lots of photos. And in fact, the background on my phone is a is a Uromastyx ornata in the wild eating flowers off of a tree. They can climb really, really high. So wow. They
don't look like climbers.
No, but they're very, very good at it. I almost included Uromastyx princeps in that group, but they're not cliff dwellers. The area they come from in Somalia is more like shrubland and like more collared lizard type territory. So like, boulder piles and things like
rough,
that.
Rugged, but not vertical.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And they But they are also very, very good climbers, very good climbers. So I give my princeps, my ornata, my yemenensis, my filbii, my ocelata, I give them all a lot of vertical space if I can. And then you have other species such as the dispar complex, which is Flavifasciata, Maliensis, dispar, and Saharans and Jayri. They are much more like low level, like closer to ground dwellers. Some of them come like there's photos of Flavifasciata and Egyptians, by the way, on like basically sandy, rocky, gravelly loam. And they dig burrows under rocks and then come out and bask on the boulders and then eat like little low grasses. Thomasi are the same way. If you've ever seen photographs of Oman in the wild, actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's my friend Frank, there's a picture of a Thomasi in the bottom picture, and it's flat. It's just flat nothing with little river rocks. It's just all river rocks and it's just flat. It looks like there's nothing there. It looks like the surface of Mars. And that's where Thomasi come from. They live in little burrows in the ground. And then I felt like there was one other in there that I wanted to, as you get further east and you get into like the Saara stuff, like Saara, Osmusi, Loricata, and Hardwicki, the Hardwicki they're actually like plain dwellers. They live on these dirt plains where there's all these little grasses and they pop in and out of the holes, kind of like almost like ferrets or like weasels or meerkats. That's kind of what they remind me of, these long bodied, Uromastyx looking lizards, and they eat all that stuff. So there's a huge range. But at the end of the day, they're simply desert reptiles, right? So there's a certain level of base care that you can give them, and they'll all do well under that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So yeah, we'll come back to the care because we'll kind of break that down in a little bit. But before we do, let's get into